In 2029, a blackout occurred that plunged the world into chaos and led to the emergence of countless tribes with their own cultural identities. Fast forward to 2071 and we meet the siblings Keanu, Elja, and Liv from the Origins tribe who are out hunting when they witness an Atlantean plane crash nearby. While they want to investigate, their elder sister Liv reminds them of the danger and suggests they inform their tribe leader first. Meanwhile, in the Crows tribe, Varvara informs tribe leader Yvonne that her men have detected the crash and he sees it as an opportunity to acquire Atlantean technology and gain control of the continent. Despite warnings of sparking a war with the Crimson tribe, Yvonne gives Varvara permission and resources to go searching for the plane. Back in the Origins tribe, the siblings report what they saw to their tribe leader Jacob. He forbids them from searching for the plane, as their tribe has survived by staying out of the affairs of outsiders. However, Liv convinces him to reconsider by pointing out that someone may need help. Jacob agrees to investigate and takes his children and Mark with him to the crash site. Upon arrival, they find the plane and a wounded Atlantean pilot who speaks of the importance of a black cube, which Elja found and kept for himself. Jacob and Mark decide to investigate on their own and send everyone else back to the village. Elja returns to his secret hideout, where he keeps treasures from the old world, and discovers the pilot hiding there. The pilot tells Elja to keep his presence a secret, as many people are looking for him. Elja returns to the village with medicine, but his siblings catch him with the cube and demand to be taken to the pilot. They find the wounded pilot and decide to take him back to the village for proper care, unaware that a crow named Greta is following them. Meanwhile, Jacob and Mark visit the tribe of Little Pra, but find that they have been massacred, along with Crimson soldiers. They find a survivor who tells them that the crows were responsible. The pilot, who has been attacked by the crows, tells Elja and his friends that a dangerous threat is coming from the east and the message about it is on a cube. The cube must be taken to the Ark to warn their people, but it must not fall into the wrong hands. The pilot has suffered significant blood loss and Elja takes the cube to him. The pilot tells Elja that if he wants answers about the end of the world, he must help. However, Jacob and Mark come back and warn everyone about the crows, and they want the pilot to leave because he's a threat to the tribe. After sending a message to the Crimsons, Jacob and the tribe prepare to defend their territory, but the crows led by Varvara arrive and demand the cube. Greta stabs Liv and leaves her for dead, while Keanu fights soldiers to allow his brother Elja to escape with the cube. The crows take the villagers as slaves, except for Greta who stays behind to search for the cube. Meanwhile, Liv wakes up and learns what happened to her tribe. She captures Greta and forces her to reveal the villagers were taken to an impenetrable fortress called Brodok. Elja makes his way to Little Pra and finds a truck outside. He discovers Moses inside, a man who collects and repairs electronics from the old world. Moses offers to fix the cube and split the reward, but Elja declines. Moses eventually convinces Elja to work with him to protect the cube from the crows. When Elja asks about the blackout, Moses explains that he thinks the Atlanteans knew about it and didn't tell anyone. As a result, they were the only ones with working technology in the new world. Liv wakes up in a hospital belonging to the Crimson tribe, and David tells her they had to knock her out to keep their location a secret, but she's safe with them. Liv shares her story with David about the pilot and the plane, but she keeps the information about the cube to herself. David sends his men to find the plane, and Liv expresses her wish to save her family. David explains that they haven't found a way into Brodok yet, but he wishes they could enter as well. Later on, Sam shows Liv around the Crimson stronghold, which is the last area before entering the Crows' territory. Liv learns that the Crows are lethal killers, but they keep their word and never lie. To enter their territory, one must either be a slave or a crow. Liv asks for permission to talk to Greta, who hasn't spoken to anyone so far. David agrees as long as Liv shares any information she gets on how to get into Brodok. Liv visits Greta and learns that the cube equals great power, which is why they killed all those people. Greta doesn't think Liv can enter Brodok alone, but Liv tells her that she'll free Greta if she promises to take her along to save her family. This leaves Greta thinking. Liv tells David she'll work on gaining Greta's trust and will give him all the information she gets as long as he promises to help her family when they finally attack Brodok. Meanwhile, Keanu and the other survivors arrive at Brodok. They're put to work in factories making wolk, which the upper crows use to fight. The guards are ruthless and will beat anyone who stops working or tries to steal wolk. The only way to escape is through a BOJ, a fight between two slaves to earn freedom. Keanu befriends Linus, who shows him the ropes. Liv continues to try and gain Greta's trust, but Greta sees through her act and hurts her. Liv tells David of a plan to escape with Greta, but David refuses as it's too risky. Later, Crimson soldiers return with the pilot's body, but the crows took the plane. David urges Liv to get information from Greta faster. Liv discovers a tunnel outside the building that leads to Greta's jail, giving her an idea. She goes to see David and agrees to join the Crimsons as long as she can see Greta one more time with him in the room. Liv shocks David by stealing his gun and hitting him with it before tying him up to the cell. Liv frees Greta using David's key and guides her at gunpoint to the tunnel she saw earlier. Greta takes Liv's gun but gives it back to her to confirm that a crow keeps their word. As they make their way through the forest, Greta points out that Liv would make a good crow. Liv thinks about the offer that has been given to her. She asks Greta where to go next, and Greta tells her what road to take to sneak into Braddock. Liv takes out a flare and shoots it at the sky. She wants to alert the Crimsons of their location because it was part of her plan all along. Soon, the soldiers arrive and capture Greta. They are about to arrest Liv too, but she reveals that she has important information. When they get back to the stronghold, David compliments Liv for her bravery, and they become intimate with each other. At the factory, Linus accidentally drops his tools while he's working. The guard beats him up for it. Keanu comes to his defense, but the guard beats him too and throws him to the ground. Keanu notices some slaves stealing wool. Later that night, Keanu pretends to be asleep and sees the same slaves giving the stolen wool to the guard. The next day, Keanu asks Linus to arrange a meeting with Varvara. Linus calls Keanu to a private area, but it turns out to be a trap. The thieving slaves want to kill Keanu, but he uses a shard he found in the water to defend himself. Keanu kills one of the slaves just before the guards arrive to arrest them all. Keanu is taken to see Varvara, and he tells her what he saw. However, the guard denies everything, and Varvara believes her warrior over a slave. She orders Keanu to be killed as punishment. Moses takes Elja to see Amina. She meets them with her weapon out because she's angry that Moses left her after making promises of love. She only puts her weapon down when she sees a child. She agrees to fix the cube after Moses promises her 10% of the profits. But after she finishes, she can't seem to make it work. Elja takes the cube and activates it by scanning his eyes. The cube shows them a giant hologram of the pilot in some strange place. Unfortunately, the cube shuts down before they can figure out what they're seeing. Amina discovers the fusion module isn't reparable, and the only person who could get them such a rare piece is Bracker, the man behind the old trading post in the southern regions. Moses doesn't want to go to Bracker because he owes him money and they'll be kicked out. This makes Elja angry, and he storms out of the room. Moses follows him, and Elja shares that this is important to him because of his family. Amina decides to share a rare tablet from the old world and a bunch of other artifacts to help Moses pay his debt, and the three of them agree to leave together. However, a bunch of crows shows up, so Amina goes to fight them alone to give Moses and Elja the chance to escape. They run to the truck, but a crow jumps on them. Moses manages to push the crow off with his weapon before driving away. In Braddock, Keanu is taken away to be executed, but the ceremony is interrupted when Varvara comes back. They have found Wolk in the dead slave's body, and now she believes Keanu. The guard must die instead, so Varvara makes him do it himself. Then she sends Linus and the other thief to their deaths while she orders Keanu to be sent to her estate. Moments later, Keanu arrives at Varvara's luxurious home. He meets Duyat and the other slaves who live there. These are Varvara's favorite men, and they're kept there to keep her company, not to fight in a BOJ like Keanu wanted. When it's time for dinner, Keanu puts on the new uniform but refuses to wear makeup. He also refuses to eat or make conversation, which frustrates Varvara and excites her at the same time. That night, Varvara made a controversial decision to be with Duyat, leaving Keanu to learn a lesson. But a few hours later, Keanu was unexpectedly called to Varvara's room, only to find Duyat lying lifeless on her bed. Varvara then gave Keanu a choice. He could take his own life or face her wrath like Duyat did. Keanu took the blade and prepared to apply his sentence with courage, but Varvara surprisingly stopped him. She was impressed by his newfound bravery and decided he had earned his BOJ. Meanwhile, Liv was summoned to a meeting with Cameron, the leader of the Crimsons, to discuss the information she had obtained from Greta. Initially, Liv had planned to poison Cameron, but during his heartfelt speech, she realized that the Crimsons were not the aggressors in the ongoing conflicts, and that David was the one who was disturbing the peace. Cameron offered to trade Greta for Liv's family, and she accepted the offer and abandoned her plan to poison him. Over at the trading post, Elja refused to give up his mission to get the cube to the Ark. He came up with a plan to distract the guards, which involved Moses insulting and taunting them. While the guards were busy chasing after Moses, Elja snuck into Bracker's office. To save Moses from being harmed, Elja finally revealed the truth about the pilot, the Ark, and the looming threat from the east. To prove his point, he activated the cube, which displayed a hologram of the pilot discovering the black swarms. Bracker was consumed with curiosity about the old blackout and allowed Elja to leave with the cube. However, Elja's plans were momentarily thwarted when he bumped into an old flame, and Moses took the truck keys to go take care of her. Angry at Moses for delaying their escape, Elja activated the cube and discovered that it could guide him to the Ark. Convinced that he could go alone, Elja left the keys in the truck, but was soon ambushed by a group of crows. The cube transformed into a weapon, and Elja used it to protect himself and Moses, before finally making their escape. Meanwhile, Liv discovered that she still had the key that she used to free Greta, and informed Sam of the secret tunnel they could use to rescue David. When they met up with Cameron, Liv was forced to travel with Greta, who was displeased with her presence. They made it to the border, where Cameron tried to negotiate with the Crows, but they refused. Suddenly, gunfire erupted from surrounding buildings, and everyone was killed, including Cameron and the Crow captain. Liv managed to escape with Greta, but the latter was hit by a bullet on their way out. In the end, Liv and Greta took refuge in a nearby building, but it didn't take long for a soldier to find them. The soldier turned out to be David, who had come to kill Cameron and become the new leader of the Crimsons. David offered Liv the chance to join him, but she refused, and he let her go. Meanwhile, Keanu was taken to fight his BOJ in the arena, where he was shocked to find out that his opponent was none other than his own father, Jacob. Keanu refused to fight, but Jacob insisted that one of them had to die. In the end, Jacob forced Keanu to kill him, leaving Keanu heartbroken. Despite the setbacks, the group was now more determined than ever to get their answers. Elja and Moses were ready to make the journey to the Ark, Liv was ready to rescue her family, and Keanu was ready to move on.